We just got a bunch of new information on Insomniac's Spider-Man 2 with new gameplay details dropping for this past week. If you haven't seen or heard any of it, I don't know how, because I'm incredibly late making this video. I'm like 3 days late, so everyone's already made a video about this. But Insomniac dropped a bunch of new information, gameplay, suit details, and an article that people are going crazy over. It's been a very exciting week for not only PlayStation gamers, but Spider-Man fans alike, with all of this new information coming out. Like, it was just a treasure chest of content that they released from Friday and so on till now. Now, I know I am by no means a gaming YouTuber. I have never posted like a video game to my page, and anybody who's watching this video is like, Miles, what are you doing? You don't cover games, and you're right, but it's Spider-Man. And I might not have a PlayStation 5, but I beat the first 2 games and I love this game, so I kind of want to talk about it. And I also know that literally everybody else has already made a video about this, but I bet none of them were wearing a Spider-Man mask when they were doing it. Yeah, that doesn't help my cause very much. Anyway, if you're new to the channel, please feel free to like and subscribe. This, like I said, is not my normal content. I normally do cosplay stuff, stunt stuff, Spider-Man, Star Wars, lightsabers, all that fun stuff. But I like to expand my content. I talked about this game like 2 days ago. People said they want more of it, so let's go. Let's break some of this stuff down. The first thing we're going to look at is the actual kind of gameplay trailer that Insomniac dropped. Already, we're starting off with a beautiful sunset of New York. As we know from the first 2 games, you were able to change the weather and time of day. So obviously, I'm going to go on the assumption that we can continue to do that into this game. But it looks like they're expanding into different types of weather, different types of times of day, and I think that's pretty cool. Wow, I'm already like 3 seconds in and I'm talking about a sunset. That's a me thing to do. We move into some more cuts, seeing Miles do kind of a new stealth takedown and Peter implementing the symbiote into his physical attacks. I'm really curious to see how they're going to advance both the stealth and combat options in this new game. The 3rd installment of the game means that there's going to be more advancements, and we've already seen that happen. The first thing that really did get me excited was seeing Miles and Peter swinging together, and it got me wondering if this is just a cutscene or if this is an in-game kind of thing. If you can be swinging together as Peter and Miles, like together swinging through the city, and you can transition between the 2 of them, or if when you're swinging the other one will just show up, and that'd be pretty cool. I don't know, but I hope it's not just like a cutscene. I hope that you can actually implement this dual swinging into gameplay. First thing they talk about is that the map has doubled in size from the first 2 games. So when people kind of said how Miles Morales, the game, was almost like a DLC expansion because it didn't add much of the map, this is where they're going to add more to the map. They're doubling the size, and they're adding new locations like Coney Island, Queens, and Brooklyn, which all 3 are really important to Spider-Man's character, while also giving us new interesting kind of backdrops. Like, we're used to the high cityscapes, we're used to New York, but playing on things like Coney Island or Queens, or like even the backside of Brooklyn, would give us some more interesting kind of gameplay, like we see with the symbiote, how he's in more of a neighborhood kind of area. And they've implemented a new mechanic of the web wings. We knew this was happening, and this is awesome. It's a new traversal mechanic, so people who have already mastered web swinging or wall crawling or stuff like that, now you have a 3rd one to add onto your traversal method, so you can go even faster, even farther. You can move even more proficiently as one of the 2 heroes, and you can add on those web wings. I'm really curious to see how those web wings are going to work, because they look super cool, and seeing how you can just easily switch them on and off between web swinging is really interesting. I can't help but think about like all of the player created challenges, like, okay, swing here and then do the web swing down here, then the web wings, and then click the web swing again. You know what I mean? That didn't make much of any sense. You get my point. It's a new mechanic, and it's going to open up a lot of doors. They've also increased the speed of not only the web swinging, but the web wings. Like, you're going way faster. I know a lot of people, they modded their old game to like have 4 times speed or 2 times speed with web swinging to make it more dynamic. It looks like that's the standard speed now, is this more increased speed, and that, I can't help but think that's going to be insanely fun. We move into some smaller locations as well, seeing Peter and Harry walk in front of Midtown High, seeing the old football field, as well as Brooklyn Visions Academy. It really looks like they're putting in a lot of work to make this a more cohesive world, making it a larger, more immersive place to be. It's not just a city, it's not just New York anymore. It's part of the story. The map is part of the story, and I think they're really hammering that down with all these character-driven locations. A huge thing that they added into this game, which is something I actually talked about a few months ago on TikTok, is that switching between Peter and Miles is almost instantaneous. You're playing as both of the characters. You can switch between them with the push of a button. It's kind of like the old GTA mechanic of where you can click up on the wheel and select one of your 3 characters, but now it's in real time. It's not like you're picking up and leaving off where these characters were. It's more like you're swinging as Peter and you can transition right into Miles wherever he may be. And of course, with the new processing power of the PS5 that they're really hyping up, you could do it instantaneously. Same thing with the fast travel system they're talking about, is that there's not much of a wait time anywhere, and that's got to be fun. Also, I'm just going to take a quick second to say the suit designs are immaculate. They've really improved Peter's design from the first game. I was a fan of the first suit design, but I know a lot of people didn't like how it was orange rather than red. They've changed that. They've bumped the saturation of the blue up and the red down. So the red is now a more prominent red color, like a classic comic Spider-Man, and the blue is a much more pop, vibrant blue, versus kind of like the tealish blue and the oranges that we had in the first game, which again, I wasn't opposed to. Either way, they've kind of taken the flaws of that first suit and they've improved it in almost every way possible for this one. They've kept those large, prominent white spider symbols on the glove, which I'm a huge fan of. And then Miles' suit, again, it's improved in little textures and little patterns along the suit. They've kept true to that original color scheme, adding in a little bit more grays and some different hues and saturation tones. All I'm saying is that the suits that were already A tier have been bumped up to S tier, and that's, I don't know how you can improve a really good suit, but they managed to do it twice. So something cool with this scene that I noticed, and I actually read about, is when you're playing as one of the two heroes, whether that's Peter or Miles, one of the other spider heroes, the respective one you're not playing as, might come in to help you even if you don't trigger that action. So you could be like playing as Miles and you can set up one of those goons for an attack, and Peter will come in and kick that guy, or he'll come in and swipe him off his feet. Or vice versa, you're playing as Peter and Miles will come in just like this. He'll swipe in and swipe out. And that is so cool. They've really, like I said, hammered down the idea of being immersive, showing the fact that there are two Spider-Man in this game, and that they're not just like vacant when the other one is active. They're both active in the game. That leads me to wonder that if you're swinging around as one of the heroes, will you hear about the things the other hero is doing? Will you maybe see him swinging across the map and you can transition into him? That would be really cool. However, I do like the idea that they've implemented right here, is that when you're playing as one, the other one can show up and help you, whether or not you cue them to or not. Kind of hammering more down on the immersion aspect that we were talking about earlier, they've kind of updated the way missions will happen. You're still going to get missions the old-fashioned way, like through a story mode. You have to beat the first mission to get the second mission, of course, and then your friendly neighborhood app will give you side missions. But they've also implemented in-game things that will happen, like actual things, events in the game that will happen that you have to respond to that will then cue a mission, such as like these random symbols in the sky that would cue like a challenge or a different side quest, or these Craven hunter drones that will come down and attack you or hunt you or track you and will lead into another mission. And then all of these things together will add up to give you more information about both Craven or these other villains through the game. Again, they're really hammering down this immersion aspect of when you click you're in this game, everything is happening for a reason. It makes you feel as though you are Spider-Man rather than you're playing a game, rather than just a spreadsheet of missions you could do at any time. Yeah, you're still gonna have that spreadsheet of missions, and yes, you're still gonna have the friendly neighborhood app, but now you have these in-universe things that are happening that you get to respond to cue a new mission. And then, of course, I'm just going to take a second to talk about this beautiful shot of Venom. Oh my god, this is a beautiful shot of Venom. I don't know if they've confirmed who Venom is or not. I've not done a very good job of digging into this game, of digging into every single detail, but I know there's been some theories bouncing around. The first theory is that it's Peter, and that Peter, obviously because he gets the symbiote in this game, first theory is that Peter becomes that Venom. And the reason someone kind of thought of this, which sort of made sense, is because earlier a couple weeks ago when they showed some gameplay of the symbiote suit, Peter's eyes look different in two different shots. One, they look a little bit cleaner, and the other, it looks like the Venom is seeping into his eyes. So someone was talking about maybe it's a slow form transformation, that over time he's slowly turning more and more into Venom, to when he turns into the giant Venom. That's not a theory that I personally think is true. What I think is that it's Harry Osborn, which if you've played the first two games, you would understand that it should be Harry. There's no reason why it shouldn't be Harry, but I totally understand the theory of that it might be Peter. But again, I haven't dug into every single information fact about this game. I'm more or less on the side that it's Harry, and it makes sense. But regardless of that, his design looks beautiful. It looks like they perfectly mixed the Sony design of Venom with the OG like comic design of Venom with the large spider symbol on him. It's just beautiful and I love it. Of course, there was a small update to the map and like the masks themselves where you can kind of view your missions overall on the cityscape. So you now have a variety of different ways that you can view your missions along through the story. You can do the friendly neighborhood app, you have the OG like actual map, or you can just like click a button and you can scan the city and kind of see those quick pop-up locations. Speaking of which, they've also kind of implemented a new upgrade system that is district based. So like those first two games, they had different districts where there were different missions. They've kind of carried that over into this game where you have different districts where there's different missions in each one of those districts, as you can fully complete a district, you can get 100% on that district, get new upgrades, new improvements from that district, and that of course unlocks to the fast travel system, which it looks as though the fast travel system is not going to have a cutscene. It looks like you can just pick a new place on the map, click it, and then you'll get flown right in there. That might actually be a new viable method of transportation. I know I talked about in my last video how I would not personally use the fast travel system in the first 2 games because I loved web swinging so much, but maybe if you have to get all the way across the map, like after you completed the story and you're just kind of like straw hat picking these different missions, if you have to get across the map, maybe it's a new way to do it because you don't have to wait anymore. One thing I was really excited to see, and this kind of hones back to the first point I was talking about of how you could be playing as one hero and the other one will come in to help you. Some of the missions will require one of the 2 Spider-Man, and some will call for either of them. So some are kind of like an open call of any Spider-Man can take this call, and the other ones will require one of Peter or Miles to take that call. And if you look in this cutscene, it looks like both of them went to a call. So it looks like when it comes to both main story missions and side quests, there's 4 different ways that the mission could call for a hero. You can either be called specifically as Peter, specifically as Miles, as either of them, or as both of them. And I think that's really cool because it will progress the story in multiple different ways. It will show Peter and Miles having their own individual arcs, individual stories throughout the main quest. It'll give you kind of free reign to play as either of them in those free reign missions, or it will call for both of them to play together at different points in the mission. They've really done a good job of making sure you can play as both of the heroes for an equal amount of time, and that is awesome. I know there was a big fear talking about how if you can play as both heroes, maybe you would only be playing as one, or you would upgrade one of them all the way and then you'd be alienating the other one. But they've really made it a point in this game that you are going to play as both of the heroes. You've already played as both of them and now you're playing as them together, and that is super cool. I'm really interested to see the missions like this when they're actually playing together. Like, will it be the thing how they did in Arkham Knight where you're playing as like Batman and Nightwing, or Batman and Catwoman, or Batman and Robin, and you can switch between the two literally in real time at that mission? You can switch between them as quick as a punch. Like, you'd be punching as one character and you can click a button and switch to the other one. Will it be something like that, or are they just going to be like an AI assistant? I don't know, but either way, I love this idea of giving you 4 different ways to play these missions throughout the entire story. And of course, the big thing, the thing everyone wants to talk about, is the more you explore, the more missions you do, the more you can upgrade and customize, both cosmetically and practically, for both heroes. Of course, returning from the first 2 games, we have improving different combat, tech, and I think stealth skills, but don't hold me to that because they didn't say stealth skills. But you can improve all aspects of your character, as well as your gadgets you can individually improve. There's also a new suit tech system that you can upgrade through. So I don't know if this is replacing the old like upgrade tree that they had in the first 2 games. It says up here that there's a suit tech upgrade and as well as the skills upgrade. So I'm gonna go off the assumption that they're keeping true to the original skill trees that we had in the first 2 games of combat, traversal, and stealth, but now they're adding on the suit tech upgrades as well, giving you more options to customize your abilities, your utilities, your tech, all of these things. Basically, they're just giving you more things to customize and upgrade to play how you want, putting you in the mask of Spider-Man rather than just playing a game. And the thing that I'm most excited about, what else would the cosplayer be most excited about? The suits. Dude, they've went all out on this suit. More than the first 2 games combined. We have an insane amount of suits in this game, man. So many choices, and not just choices, but variation. There are over 65 suits in this game overall, and they switch between different variations from the comics to the movies to my personal favorite of the Insomniac custom designs, which the reason those are my personal favorite, I'm a character concept artist myself, and I love seeing these new custom designs make their way into the game. I love seeing the Insomniac team just show their creativity through these suit designs. And it doesn't even just stop there, because now you can mix and match. You can customize your individual suits in the new suit styling system. You can pick one of those 65 suits and it has, I think, 4 styles for each one. Or it just shows 4, but maybe they have a list of 4 and you can pick between the 4. I don't know, but I know that there are over 200 different options that you can customize between for all of your heroes. If you can't tell, that's what I'm most excited about, is the amount of customization and the amount of suits that we're actually getting. But another thing that I noticed was actually the musical score. It's a new and improved musical score of the original Marvel Spider-Man theme, but it's mixed with the one from Miles' game. So the first one obviously didn't have any hip-hop tracks in it. It's just the plain orchestra and the choir, right? Then the second one in Miles' game, it transitioned from that into more of a kind of grounded hip-hop theme. But now in the third one, they've overlaid both of those themes together to give us a new original theme that is inspired from the first 2. On top of that amazing gameplay trailer we got a lot more gameplay as well as an actual article that we're going to go through and break down different things of. The first gameplay piece I want to talk about is this section of Peter fighting the lizard, because oh my god, this looks so cool. You get to see Peter swinging through chasing the lizard on this train track, and then he's attached to him flying up a building. So it looks like with these new characters and with these new missions, we're going to see a lot more gameplay mechanics, a lot more different, not only traversal systems, but different ways that you can actually attack, different ways you can follow these characters. It also looks like they're doing more so real-time events rather than quick-time events. I much more prefer those real-time events versus quick-time. I'm not a fan of quick-time events. I don't know if anyone ever is, but I much more prefer having full control of my character. Okay, so the article that we're actually going to be going over is from PlayStation's blog. It goes, Marvel Spider-Man 2 hands-on report, gameplay details on symbiote powers, combat, PS5 features, and more. I love when they add "and more" because I always want to see what the more is. So this article goes over a bunch of different things, some of them more kind of mild and the other ones kind of dipping into spoiler territory. I'm going to leave those for a little bit later and I'll give a warning right before. So if you don't want to know anything that might be spoiler related, anything that might be in that territory, feel free to click off at that point. But I will definitely say before I start talking about it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is actually the upgrade with Peter's suit with these new mechanical arms. As we know from the first game, that was just kind of an additional power-up. But what they're talking about in this first paragraph is that this is now his base loadout. This is what Peter is showing up with. You can use those arms regardless of anything until you transition into the symbiote. So it looks like we're going to get different kind of forms to play as. And my favorite part about this is it has a backstory. They're going to explain why he has the arms to begin with, and they're going to explain why the Venom kind of transitions that later on. Another thing I talked about earlier a couple months ago on TikTok was Miles' new Venom ability. Miles now has two distinct colorings for his bioelectrical Venom powers. Originally orange and now blue. This is hinted as a story arc. It's Miles learning more abilities. So it's not just a switch in color of his powers, it's actually him improving the ability, learning the ability a different way or using it a different way. So maybe it's not a more powerful version, but maybe it does something different. It's revealed here that everything we talked about has its own skill tree. It has its own experience points to gradually unlock both AoE attacks, multiple full launchers, and more. Essentially what this is saying is that there's kind of loadouts for these characters. You spawn in with this loadout previously established with the heroes, and as you transition farther in the game, you'll switch to different loadouts. So Miles might transition between those two powers, Peter will transition from having the arms to a Venom ability. It's a whole list of customization and a whole list of movesets that we're going to be able to explore through the game. So what they've really been doing is implementing a new way to use these arms and these Venom abilities, both the Venom powers of Miles and the symbiote suit of Peter. So it looks like what used to be kind of like a special move in the first game of using the arms, you can activate them for a short amount of time, using the Venom strike for a short amount of time. They're now giving their entire own skill trees. They're giving their own move lists, combo sets, all of these new things to expand more into the game. They're doing that same thing with these spider gadgets now. They're giving the gadgets a lot more not only power, but ability in this game to help you out. Much more upgrades, much more improving along the way, as you can use them in different ways. You can use the initial quickfire or Q option for those first games, or you could use a gadget in more of a crowd control sense to actually use and help you within the story. Going off of that, kind of like we talked about earlier with the new suit tech upgrades and the gadgets, the upgrade system looks to be as if you have the base gadget, but looks like there's 5 gadget slots that you can upgrade into. Essentially, the upgrades are obviously meant to help you in any way that they can and open up new gameplay avenues for each upgrade that you're clicking. I want to talk again about the symbiote suit. Like we mentioned earlier, it has its own skill tree, so we're definitely going to be playing with it long enough to be able to upgrade it, to be able to customize it, and maybe be able to use it by the end of the story in more of a free roam sense. It has its own skill tree, it has its own set of attacks and combo moves. It has its own set of like kick up attacks and button combo attacks that you can do that are different than Peter's original set of attacks. They also talk about a special ability you're going to get with the symbiote suit. If you click L and R3 at the same time, it's a symbiote surge. What they talk about is it is a savage whirling, fast-paced grab and slam attack that lets you manually target and permanently ground enemies. Basically, the special ability for the symbiote is you're going to be able to one-shot everybody around you. That's cool, and you'll have manual control over the entire thing rather than just a click and win. Another thing added to the combat system, as well as just dodging and punching, is now the parry ability. So now you have the option as both Peter and Miles. Instead of just dodging bullets, claws, and attacks and punching back, you can now parry those attacks back, almost like a counter attack. All right, we're gonna start getting more into the spoiler territory here. So if you don't want to know anything or you want to go in completely blind, this would be your chance to kind of click to this next timestamp at the end of the video, or just click off entirely. It's not super spoiler, but it's in spoiler territory. So if you rather go into the narrative arc blind, warning ahead. Like, this is your warning. 3, 2, 1, go. Ah, I caught you. See, you're still watching. If you don't want spoilers, walk away. Like, as well as the new missions, what they're also doing is implementing new kind of story arcs within the character friendships. So they're making it more of a story and more of you're in the shoes of these characters, rather than just a button mash punching, rather than just playing the game. And that's what the first 2 games did really, really well, is making a story. They're kind of capitalizing on that even farther. So this game is set 9 months after the events of Miles Morales' Spider-Man game. Harry Osborn is Peter's best friend since high school, and they're as close as brothers, bonded over a love of environmental science. Absent for a while, 2 friends traveling Europe, in truth isolated from the world by an unknown disease, which the preview now reveals a new equilibrium of their friendship. Harry knows Peter is Spider-Man, and he knows Miles is Spider-Man as well. Peter has the black suit, and they are trying to find a possible cure for Harry's illness. This story plays into the awkwardness of overlapping friendships through mutual connections. So obviously the awkwardness between Harry and Miles and Harry and Peter and Harry and all of that stuff, and Harry knowing that they're Spider-Man. This gives us some fun information about how Harry knows they're both Spider-Man, and how Peter has the black suit while they're looking for Harry's disease cure. So maybe Harry isn't Venom. Maybe it actually is Peter. Or maybe somewhere down the line the symbiote transitions over, whatever, we don't know. So that definitely is a really kind of interesting story beat, a really interesting twist to add on to the story of Harry being a new character in these games, but already knows that both Peter and Miles is Spider-Man. I don't know how that's going to play kind of overall. I don't know if that's going to be good for them or bad for them, but I can't imagine it's going to be anything easy for them. So it definitely does add in some more story elements and more story beats, and I'm really excited to see what's going on there. And it's definitely going to give us kind of a new dynamic of the friendships overall. Not only will it might provide a stake between Miles and Peter as friends, Harry kind of being that third wheel, or maybe one of the other 3 will be made a third wheel, but it gives us a new insight into Harry and Peter's friendship that we haven't really seen before. We've seen the stories of Harry knowing Peter is Spider-Man, but he finds out later. This is telling us that he's going to know from the get-go. He knows early on, maybe from the start of the game. Maybe he already knew. Maybe he finds out early. Whatever it is, he knows early on. So it's going to give us a new insight into that. As well as the fact that he doesn't really know Miles as a person, but now he knows he's Spider-Man. So I can't imagine that would help Miles in much of a sense, to be honest. Why did my voice kind of sound like Mickey Mouse there? It also might add on to some more conflict-based storylines in the end. Like, maybe Peter will have to make a decision between Harry or Miles. Maybe Miles will have to make a decision between Peter and symbiote Peter. Maybe there'll be some sort of turmoil. There'll be some sort of stake outside of their lives as Spider-Man, but more as Peter Parker and Miles Morales having to make these hard choices, having to make these hard sacrifices with this fact, with this third person who knows this about them, who might not be a trustworthy person, or maybe is a trustworthy person. We don't know. Overall, that's going to wrap it up for the information we did get. I'm going to leave links to everything down below, to the initial trailer, to some different gameplay trailers that you can watch, as well as the blog article that I did pull a lot of this information from. You're more than welcome to feel free and read that. I didn't cover everything from the blog, but you can definitely feel free to check that out yourself if you want. Be warned, there are spoilers in that, like I just said, but for the most part, you'll be safe. It's not a huge thing. Anyway, when this game drops in October, I absolutely cannot wait to see it. Obviously, I won't be able to play it because I don't have a PlayStation. I know a lot of people were asking if I would be streaming the game, if I would be talking about it. I'll probably be talking about it because I love the games and I love Spider-Man, but I don't think I'll be playing it because I don't really have the money to be buying a PlayStation just to play a game to stream it. I don't know how to stream very well. I don't actually have anything to set up a stream for anyway. I'd love to play it, but hey, it's not an option at the moment. Anyway, like I said, if you're new to the channel, please feel free to like and subscribe and share this video. As I've said before, this isn't my normal content. I'm normally much more crafty based, doing cosplay stuff, doing cosplay tips, art stuff, lightsaber stuff, all of that stuff. But I did talk about this game and people said they wanted to hear a little bit about it, and I'm always looking to expand my content even more. So if you like this type of content, please let me know in the comments and I'll do more of it. Of course, I want to do what you guys want to see. Anyway, we're really close to 20,000 subscribers, so thank you so much for that. You guys are the best, amazing as always. Peace and love, do good things, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yeah,
Peace.
Spider-Man!